All right, y'all, let's get into Trump meeting the Red Dawn or Red Sun this morning. The Prime Minister of Japan and the Prime Minister, the PM, as a thief in the night, and this 80 billion on that horizon line for that Mark Zuckerberg is announced on 3/31. The Texas smoke screen on the THC, the Delta 8 and 9, is 3/31. So the Corpus Christi area is tied to the Bayer, tied to the Monsanto, tied to the Roundup and all that shit in your cereal. And they're saying it's in all the cereals now. And that's that serial killer and the Satan and that kind of shit on one level. And then you also have your Satan meat, your artificial meat or whatever. That's the battle of Satan coming. And all this gluten intolerance, or y'all don't have a gluten intolerance, you have a Roundup intolerance, and you're invaded by this. We've gotten into it before, but stay focused here because we've got a lot of crap to cover here. And the crap is going into Louisiana, causing quakes, and that wastewater for the rapture, fracking and all that kind of stuff. And that fracking, the king rising up out of the abyss, and the Babylon is falling in, and whatever else. And as you the balance of the world is out, the petrochemicals, the petros come out from the underworld, has come out to the subsurface, and now it's going to collapse and whatever else kind of thing. So then you have different parasites that we eat, and this is where the water god Sonye Takche or whatever, all right, she attached to the water god because in the house of mirrors and the dragon, and we're part of Enter the Dragon and the king stepping up onto the dragon and whatever else. And then she attaches to the dragon because she's born on 3/7/61, and 3/7/61 attaches to the dragon's death on 7/20/73. And the dragon is tied to Hebrews Lee, and he's important because he goes, "Wah!" pushing out that baby. And we just saw the corona crowning when the trumpet sounding, and now Trump's been given that cowboy hat, okay? And the cowboy hat is a full-blown figment of the imagination of Hollywood, okay? So the cowboy is a literal beast man, and when these things happen and turn on or whatever, that cowboy base of that whatever is gonna take place, because the cowboy and that oil cartel and that Baptist or whatever kind of thing is all kind of ran together in a way. So as that incarnation and that little horn and all these things are going into that Lone Star State, the Black Rock, all that stuff is all going to go crashing into those things in so to speak. All right. And either way, all these things are being shown. And then the Corpus Christi running out of water or whatever is also tied to your TPUSA and the Corpusa and there whatever. But it's running out of water the way I see it, because it didn't seem to, that Christian nationalism or whatever doesn't seem to like be taking hold the way they want. And that's where he has to change the force away and bring Erica in another way, and we might see some Monica Lewinsky, another kind of fashions, and the that destroying wind for the blowing of the jobs and whatever else, and beware of the woman who gives suck and flip-flop fashions. But either way, folks, this is where the lip-syncing stuff is happening, and the prophecies of the so-called Bible are taking place in one way, shape, or forms, getting louder and louder, but they're not happening the way the churches teach, because the church is telling you, look up from the sky, how the dead people are going to actually rise up out of the cemetery. Because they've been given over to fucking Disney. How do you know they've been given over to Disney? There came a talking snake. Yeah, the talking snake's your fucking doctor. You are the doctor. Each person is their own doctor. And the four Gospels, the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, is all going to rise up within you. And the mark has already set that horizon line and that demon, so-called, so to speak. And the demons are attached to your intelligence. But the rulers of darkness want to keep you in certain rules, boundaries, and limitations, and a certain visibility of light, and a certain red spectrum. And the red spectrum is going to start shining as you're born in that man anger, the manger. So 331 attaches us to the Cesar Chavez Day. Okay? So we got Israel and Iran attacking gas facilities right now. And then on the same article, so whatever, you got Cesar Chavez being accused of rape. The rape is tied to the what? That canola oil, the rapeseed. The canola, all right? That desolanation. Anyways, that canola and the rapeseed and these things that Israel and Iran we've been seeing, and how Iran can release these videos, blah, 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 right? So might see some things attached to where we're all going into this one little day and whatever, and we can be seeing stacks on time as far as that month, week, day, and hour, because we've seen the 228 and we're kind of in the bad money situation. And we're missing some days, and we had the daylight hours, the shortening of days, and all this other shit during this. And then you have the no kings on 328, the big one that's planning for. And then the 331, the HEMP, the HMP, the hemp, and that's tying in the one out of the three for the ruderalis and the cannabis and those things, the three that are one. Anyways, and then you the 4-5 and all this can stack up into that time frame, and then that gives birth, and the cowboy and all that to the 1776 that he was crowning out of that black box. He's opening up that black box has been wrapped up in the present and all that kind of stuff. So and that the spring break and the shooters on the beach is part of the turtles hatching, and the shooters, the hooters, the Pekings, on the high sear stakes, and that stuff we've been tracking. And then the hooters, shooters are tied to your bad omens, and the serpent seeds and whatever kind of thing. So as the serpents, the two-edged swords are coming, the DNA and all that stuff, or the breeding session, whatever else all coming upon the earth. This is where you get from snake year to the snake year, these 12-year increments, as the horse year's coming in and hatching all the leftover whatever. So this is where you have the mucky year coming, and it's all going to be set in stone by then, per se. And that set in stone would be your cannabis and the tokenization, the crypto, the where you have to buy your cannabis, or all these things being taken into a blockchain, from the blockchain to the blockchain, and all that other stuff. All right. But the spring break and then the TSA shutdown and the Y2K ready, and those things are kind of going on, lining up in whatever kind of fashion. The Corpus Christi lake water, the Bayer, the Monsanto, De Satan, or Roundup, the Roundup and that kind of thing, Satan and the gluten, as far as your artificial meat. We got all that lining up on that kind of different levels. And then they also supply and make the gas for the airlines or whatever. So this can be the gas stacks on whatever on the Israel, where they really have to move, and where they have to leave their shit behind, and all those other things. So everything's bigger in Texas, and they tell you it's the size of state. It's the second largest, next after Alaska, and then there's many people here and whatever else. They already had that fire there. They almost hit the nuke sites or whatever a couple years back, as these or a year ago or whatever, the fires and such that I told you be coming back in 2021 and 2022, as at Red Planet, the UAE, the Mars missions take place, and Russia, China, and all those go to the red planet, and that's where we're at, going on to as that man of Mars and Elon and whatever else is here. But and then also we had that space boom over however many states, but the 17,000 pound or whatever meteorite boom, that's part of that space event, all those things, and the ISS can come down and whatever else. So all these little different stacks coming. Okay, folks. And the some will be driving, some will be running, some will be walking, those types of things. Either way, the Iran and the Zelensky has already said he is ready to stand on the side of the United States to go and help with Iran. So this is where he might do something over there where Poseidon pulls out the thing through him, and they do like a little flip-flop pattern to where they think it's this and whatever else, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so with the war stacking up in different ways, and then China also surrounding Taiwan, who makes the chips, and they got their aircraft carrier plans from Bush, but they made it even better, and that ties into your serpent and the Moses and the burning bush and all those things stacked in a different level. The false prophet and the tokenization, the tomb, the crypto, the end-to-end encryption with the Instagram, the ram sacrifice, the gram ties to your part of your 128 piece deal on the ounce, the Oz, and the union, and all those kinds of things. The union, the yen is tied to your Donnie yen, ties to your Itman, ties to your Hebrews Lee, and all those things as far as the teacher and whatever else. But and then your T-chair, the chair ties to your Sunny and share, and the sun and the share, the hair, the cosmos, the THC, those types of things. The two-edged sword with a tang for the pinky, and the tang is the 10, the Tangi, and then the either way, it all, that's where the dawn is tied to this part, and a balance and whatever, but that balance is being taken off, and once your balance goes, you can't do the little tricks, and that's tied to the trick and treats, and the treats and your serial killers and whatever else I talked about with your Monsanto and the day of Satan and your artificial meats that you're all eating and whatever else. Because we knew we were eating soy burgers then. They just gave us kind of a shitty version in the high school, and they give you a better version in the restaurants and the fast food. Either way, the tokenization and the burning up of false prophets, the encryption, so-called, the encrypt, the crypto, and the cash out, those kinds of things, and then the poof, that's where, and they also mix Bitcoin in with the word of crypto, and if you hear these people talk, they mix, switch and whatever. And this is where your so-called Bitcoin has been wrapped up into some things. So it's where those things, and that's where Bitcoin would be built again and whatever else. But that's where you have your Bitcoin or American Bitcoin, in your Americ Trump or your America and whatever. The Eric versus the Erica, the blonde hair, blue eyes. Short versus long. Get that faded or get that ponytail. That ponytail. Either way, the 331 or the April Fool's Day, the false prophet day, and then Trump, a couple years back or whatever, announced, I think it was on 228 or 128, but it'd be the 128, 228 to the 328, and those things when the no kings were knocking on the door and whatever. Either way, this can be, where you can see little tickers and then talking, the TikToks and the talkings, and Trump is so told he gets 10 billion out of that TikTok deal. So that 10 billion out of that 80 billion, the begottens and all those things that we've been getting into. Either way, folks, there is so much going on at the moment, and it should be rattling the minds of the people, so to speak, and they're the cowboy hat is a figment of the imagination of Hollywood. All right, the figment of the imagination. All right, and they're full blown the cowboy, the beast man. It's like and going into like a literal standpoint, you have the beast, the cowboy beast man, and then you have beast man, the YouTuber guy, and then you have, okay, so it's just playing out in all different ways. And and the fig is that spiritual fruit that develops within, and that's tied to your RNA and the messaging system, that symbiotic stuff. And then you have your mRNA foods that's being released, and all these things going together. And the dead waters, the Corpus Christi, the waters of life, all that stuff's going away. As that water goes away, these things are, it's all tied together or whatever. And these places where we shouldn't, the Adam and Eve, the Adam and Eve or whatever, playing out with the gardens and how these things have all been built, where we're living in upside down, where we're fighting nature instead of working with nature, and all those things. So as all these things crumble, then we have to rebuild and whatever else. But that's when we build into those smart cities, and all the cowboys and beastmen and whatever else freak out and whatever, when you've already been in the fucking smart city. And it's been testing how smart you are. They've been testing, see how smart you are since we were fucking brought into this place. We've always been tested as children, and they've always been picking people out and whatever else. And this is where your smart meters have come, and seeing this, that, and the other, and the AI is coming together, and all these things are coming together, and you did it to yourself. AI did it to myself. Those kinds of things. But we're also in a new heaven and earth, to where those times of old, and where we can't walk in that fear and those things. So there's many levels of these things stacking. But either way, we'll end it here as far as the red sun is lining up, and the Cesar Chavez and the 331 and the Y2K ready, and a little flip-flop fashion. And then we also saw this crowd strike. This can also tie into the worm that dies not, and that old window system, that old window into heaven shutting, and you have time to get out, and all that kind of stuff, and whatever else. And then the apple, the rotten apple, the old apple system, and those things are the rotten apple with the blow jobs and Jobs, Steve Jobs, and those kinds of things lining up with your Epstein Island or whatever else is going on for that that little John of Patmos on the island of that MAGA nation on the mound. Oh, and we see the Mount of Olives, the amount of olives for the dime. And then he went to the Dover, and the dove is tied to the ark and all that shit. So that's where one's stepping out of the ark, one's getting into the ark, one's ark's being built. Some don't even know about the fucking ark. All this kind of shit. Okay, and the Ark of the Covenant is tied to all these things around you, but that's a whole nother story. Good day. And the wife just told me that Trump said he would bomb the world's largest oil
gas
field, and the Permian Basin lies in Texas. So this can also be lining up to that THEmpIRE, or attacking a zone, and those types of things. All right, and he had that cowboy hat for that. Baby, a birth coming for the beast man.